Yeah, I mean, I've had this discussion a couple of times with people who are in the industry. I don't know that much about exactly how the current menswear industry works, sort of top to bottom. But I mean, we are seeing this type of development, and I don't see anything stopping it. If anything, we are likely to see a further sort of hollowing out. This is where some of my pessimism comes from. I am a bit of a cultural pessimist, to be fair. I think that almost comes with, if you're interested in philosophy or history or something, it's hard not to be in a certain sense. But that current trends continuing, we are about to lose a lot of traditional makers of the things we love. And that's going to happen very soon. I think we still haven't seen the fallout of it yet. I remember having one of these moments when I read about the Brooks Brothers bankruptcy, basically erasing 40% of the English silk industry virtually overnight. 40% of those handmade silk ties that were made, they came from 40% of the business of like the few remaining silk producers in Macclesfield in England was selling it to Brooks. And if Brooks were not selling those anymore, they have no chance of survival really, or have to change things radically.
Certainly gonna have to scale down.
Yeah, it will remain simply as a curiosity for those who still want it, for the very, very small producers, perhaps. The idea being that my theory is that when you lose basically the upper level mall brands, like the middle. No, here's my dog as well. when you lose this mid-level mainstream, and it segments into fast fashion and higher end made to measure or bespoke on the other, and very little in between is what we're seeing. We're seeing the death of these in between stuff like Brooks Brothers. I don't know how Ralph Lauren's doing right now. I have no idea how the fundamentals are. But you can say that, okay, that's good because now people are more intentional about what they want. People know what they want to order and so on. But forgetting the fact that a lot of the things we like English knitwear or silk, things like that, rely on one like large mall brand that also deals in these things. And sort of the interconnectedness of a lot of these materials and these supply chains make it so that you can't separate what we want from what belongs in like a mainstream menswear culture. So if the triumph of athleisure is complete and the eradication of like a mid-level purveyor of menswear like Brooks, if that disappears, you actually also lose the upper level stuff. Yeah. You can't access that stuff anymore. And we know this, like Horween Leather in Chicago is one of the two makers of like shell cordovan, right? They are entirely dependent on a few people who are selling it. If that disappears, there's absolutely almost no rationale. Like Levi's with their selvage operation, right? That was one tiny corner of several football fields of machines. So once you lost the mainstream denim market for made in US jeans, you also lost the sought after premium product as well, because it does not matter. It only makes money if it has a mid-level to buttress it, right? I think that is true. I'm going to say I'm not an expert on these things, but I think that is true. I see it in education and every levels in culture too. If that middle brow segment disappears in literature, cinema, film, and we all get these micro markets that's completely segmented and monopolized by a few operators, you lose the high end as well. You cannot survive as you don't get the good things without this middle brow level, and which is why snobbery in menswear is a little dangerous. Like if you lose everyone hates on what Brooks Brothers has become and so on. But if you lose it, you probably also lose, like after Brooks Brothers, like Alden is now basically selling stuff to Japan, right? They don't have problems selling it, but if something were to happen with the global demand for Aldens for whatever reason, they are not sustainable as a American shoemaker. Pretty sure. If Horween stops selling, because they make the basketballs, right, for the NBA.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah. They make the leather for the Spalding balls.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but this is one of those things that is like, yeah, this is how it works, I think. So basically, we get to have Shell Cordovan loafers because Horween also makes basketballs, in a sense. So basically, if anything happens to these things, they are so globally integrated and so sort of vulnerable in that sense that they will in fact cease to exist. I don't think like Scottish knitwear will survive another 10 years, maybe a few makers will. It's already like what's happening to fabric mills in northern Italy and so on. Just a few giant ones will remain. And I guess we can have our pick of for our made to measure orders, but in terms of retention of that craftsmanship, I'm not too optimistic. So buy it now. That is actually an approach that I'm following myself. Like, if it's available now, you should probably buy it because it won't last. There's a book by a food writer called Bill Buford, who wrote a book about Italian food in the 2000s, and it ends with this sort of elegiac take on basically handmade food disappearing. That was written maybe 20 years ago, so 15, 20 years ago. And the message of that book is basically like, there are a few people left in the world with the know-how to make and do these things. And they are all old and they will die very soon. And after that, there is no long-term sustainability in the system. Handmade food in the traditional way will disappear. It will be replaced by like celebrity chef appropriations of the same things, maybe. And but the question is, seek it out while you can, which is sort of how I approach buying things now. I buy those things that I don't expect to be here for very long. I don't know. It's a little bit too pessimistic.